The front trunk of a Tesla that was registered to singer David, detectives served a search warrant for the Hollywood Hills property where the vehicle was near before it was towed to a local impound lot, according to the Los Angeles Times. Law enforcement sources with knowledge of the case, but not authorized to speak publicly, told the outlet that investigators recovered various items from the Sunset Boulevard home, including electronics and computers. David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, does not own the property, but had allegedly been staying at the rental home before beginning his world tour at the start of the summer, law enforcement sources had previously told ABC News.
So, Charlie, you talked with friends of David. How did they know him, and how well did they know him?
Yeah, so the folks that I spoke to are in the LA music scene, so they know David very, very well. They didn't know Celeste as well as they knew David, but they did notice that he was bringing her along when they would go to parties in the music scene. Maybe they would have hangouts after a recording session, and they knew David to be a very gentle person, is what they told me. They also described him as very soft-spoken. Friends around him are extremely shocked that he's even remotely.
This story is dark, and it's only getting darker. On September 8th, police found the body of Celeste Rivas-Hernandez inside the trunk of singer David's Tesla. Her body had already started to decompose. The coroner could not even give a clear cause of death yet. It's listed as deferred. That alone was shocking. But what came next is what really set the internet on fire. People close to the case say David's computer had encrypted files that mentioned Celeste by name. These weren't normal folders. They were locked, hidden behind codes, and that raised the big question: why would her name need to be hidden if everything between them was innocent? Friends of David, whose real name is David Anthony Burke, say they were blindsided. They told TMZ they thought Celeste was his girlfriend and that she was in college. They described him as gentle and shy, but in the same breath, they admitted they often saw Celeste with him at clubs, at parties, at shows where she would have needed a fake ID to even get through the door. Later, law enforcement confirmed she had multiple fake IDs. Now stack up the facts. Celeste was reported missing at least 3 times in 2024. The last report came in April. Months later, she turns up in the trunk of David's car. During that same time, friends say she was seen right by his side, and now encrypted files with her name are reportedly sitting on his PC. This is why the whispers won't stop. Some people online think those files are just songs or demos. Others think they could be personal notes, messages, or even photos that he wanted to hide. Nobody knows for sure, but the word encrypted makes everything feel more suspicious. Even Celeste's own mother added weight to the rumors. She allegedly told police her daughter had been dating someone named David before she disappeared. Put that together with the files, the fake IDs, and her body in his trunk, and you start to see why fans aren't calling this a coincidence. Right now, David hasn't said a word. No statement, no denial, nothing. And in that silence, the questions just keep growing louder. Was Celeste just a troubled teen who kept running away? Or was David hiding a relationship he knew he could never admit? Either way, her name wasn't just found in his car. It was allegedly hidden on his hard drive too.
It's a South Korean ideology where from birth, we're connected to our soulmate. It can be a lover, friends, teachers, anybody. You're connected to them from birth, and you're led to them through the course of your life to meet them or, interact with them at some point and to help them, or they add something to your life. It's almost transactional, but it's like an emotional transaction. Like you're meant to help this person, or you're meant to learn something from this person. Like me and you could have a string. Me and you could have a string. Me and you have a string, So everybody.
You have many strings?
There's so many. Yes, you're connected to so many different people. Yeah.
What makes this story spiral is how every group is telling it differently and how none of the versions fit together. Start with David, or better yet, the lack of David. Since Celeste's body was pulled from his Tesla, he's canceled his tour, ditched his Hollywood Hills mansion, and cut off the world. Not a statement, not a denial, nothing. His silence has become its own storyline. Some call it damning, proof he's hiding something. Others say it's just smart legal strategy. Either way, the longer he stays quiet, the more room there is for people to fill in the blanks with their own versions. Then you've got his friends. They swear he's gentle, shy, a quiet kid from the scene who couldn't hurt a fly. They say they thought Celeste was his college girlfriend, but here's the problem. Those same friends admit they saw them together constantly, at parties and clubs, places she shouldn't have been unless she was older. They insist they were fooled by her fake IDs, but that excuse cuts both ways. If they were fooled, what stopped David from being fooled? And if he wasn't fooled, why keep showing up with her her in public? Celeste's family tells another story. Her mother allegedly told investigators that her daughter was dating someone named David. That's not a rumor, that's a claim. A straight line drawn between a missing girl and a rising star who now won't open his mouth. Meanwhile, the media has split into lanes. TMZ paints it as confusing, stressing the mismatch between his shy image and the ugly details. News Nation calls his silence damning, framing it as avoidance. The LA Times digs into Celeste's missing person reports, showing how she kept disappearing long before her body was found. Each outlet builds a different frame, but when you hang them all up together, the picture looks more like a crime scene than a misunderstanding. And then there are the fans, the only ones not worried about reputations. They're digging through every detail like amateur detectives. Some are convinced the encrypted files are proof of a hidden relationship. Others swear they're just unreleased songs.
Sometimes you can tell a person's true heart based on what they say. And a lot of the things that you say to someone when you first meet them, it's like your first impressions. But like I said, over the span of like months and years, you kind of start to speak your mind a lot more. And by being around someone a lot more, they start to speak their mind. And you know when things don't add up.
When you line up the dates, the whole story starts to look even more twisted. Celeste Rivas-Hernandez wasn't just found once, she had a history of going missing. The Los Angeles Times reported she was listed as a missing person at least 3 times in 2024. The most recent case was in April, months before she was finally discovered in David's trunk. Each time she disappeared, she came back, until the last time, when she didn't. During those same months, friends say they were seeing her with David often. They believe she was 19 and in college. They even said they spotted her at age-restricted clubs and parties, places someone Celeste's age shouldn't be. Police later confirmed Celeste had multiple fake IDs, which would explain how she slipped into those spaces without raising alarms. Now, here's where the encrypted files come in. According to whispers, some of those locked files on David's computer are time-stamped from the same month Celeste was reported missing. That overlap is what makes people uneasy. If she was missing in April, but her name shows up in encrypted folders from that same time, what does that mean? Was she with him while her family was reporting her gone? Was he documenting something he didn't want public? The questions get darker the closer you look. Celeste's mother told police her daughter was dating someone named David. Not just friends, not just hanging around, dating. It's impossible not to connect that to David Anthony Burke, the man the world knows as David. Meanwhile, the singer's behavior doesn't help. Right after the body was found, police raided his Hollywood Hills home. Within days, he ended his $20,000 a month lease and vanished from public life. For someone who built his name on TikTok and streaming, that sudden disappearance feels like running from a fire. Stack all of this together and you see the red flags. A teen girl missing multiple times in 1 year. Friends saying she was always with David. Fake IDs letting her into his world. Files with her name locked away on his hard drive. A body in the trunk of his car. Individually, any piece could be brushed off as a mistake, a coincidence, or bad judgment. But lined up, the picture feels heavier. Too heavy to ignore. That's why the timeline matters. It's not just about when Celeste vanished. It's about who she was with and what was allegedly being hidden on his computer while it happened.
In a way that it builds up to the big moment where she died in the back of my mind. I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died.
When stories like this hit, people start comparing, and the parallels make this one feel even darker. Some say it looks a lot like the R. Kelly situation. A famous man surrounded by young girls, the truth only surfacing after whispers, files, and receipts pile up. The difference is David is only 20, still building his career. That makes the alleged connection to Celeste hit even harder. Others bring up Epstein, not because David had that kind of power, but because of the secrecy. Epstein's list, his files, his locked archives, all became proof after the fact. Now people are saying the same about David. Those encrypted folders might be the receipts he thought no one would ever see. And then there are the smaller parallels, the ones from the music world itself. We've seen laptops leak before, Drake's BlackBerry, Kanye's hard drives, but those revealed unreleased songs. Nobody expected a rising TikTok star's files to allegedly tie him to a missing teen. That's the twist. But here's the devil's advocate side. Encryption doesn't always mean guilt. A lot of artists lock their computers. They hide unreleased songs, contract drafts, even personal notes. Some fans argue the Celeste references could have been song titles, demo ideas, or even files planted by someone else. Without proof of what's inside, the word encrypted might just sound scarier than it really is. Still, there's one big problem with that defense. If the files were truly harmless, why do the timestamps allegedly overlap with the month Celeste was reported missing? Why was her body in his car? Why did her mother say she was dating someone named David? Encryption might be normal for musicians, but encryption plus a body in your trunk, that combination doesn't sit right. So the debate splits in two. On one side, people who say this is the start of another R. Kelly-style fall from grace. On the other, people saying we don't know enough, and gossip is filling in the blanks. But in gossip, blanks never stay empty. The more silence there is, the more the internet writes its own version. And right now, the internet's version is that those encrypted files weren't just about music. They were about Celeste. The fallout from this story is already rewriting legacies, and not in a good way. For David, this could be career-ending. Just months ago, he was the quiet TikTok star who blew up off moody songs like Romantic Homicide. He had 3 million followers, a debut album withered out in April, and industry people calling him the next big alt-pop star. Now, he's the singer whose car held a dead Celeste, whose computer allegedly carried encrypted files with her name, and whose silence is making things look worse. Since police raided his Hollywood Hills home, he's canceled his tour, dumped his $20,000 a month lease, and disappeared. Brands, collaborators, and even athletes, like the figure skater who pulled his song from her routine, are already cutting ties. His image went from mysterious to radioactive overnight. For Celeste, the tragedy is doubled. She wasn't just a girl who died young, she was a girl who went missing multiple times in 2024, each time slipping through the cracks. She had fake IDs, was allegedly showing up at clubs, and was last reported missing in April before being found months later in a trunk. For the industry, this is a nightmare. Rising stars usually stumble with messy tweets or bad performances, not with dead bodies in their cars. Labels, sponsors, and streaming platforms don't want to be associated with headlines this toxic. Already the gossip is that big names are quietly pulling away. And for fans, the divide is sharp. Some can't believe the shy, quiet singer could be involved in something like this. Others say the files, the sightings, and the silence are enough proof. TikTok is flooded with theories. Reddit threads are dissecting the word encrypted like it's gospel. Whether or not the truth ever comes out, the court of public opinion is already slamming the gavel. Here's the irony. Those encrypted files were supposed to keep secrets hidden. Instead, the fact that they exist has made the story louder, messier, and harder to ignore. David wanted to be remembered as a breakout star. Now he may be remembered only for one thing: the Celeste connection.